Hello, everyone. Welcome back to today's story. In this episode, after months of secrecy and hesitation, Alex finally confesses his feelings to his mother. Moved by her son's sincerity, Mrs. Huyen makes a life-altering decision. She will not only accept Tuna, but personally organize their wedding. What begins as a moment of hope soon unfolds into a tale of courage, acceptance, and the quiet strength of love that dares to defy social boundaries. Yet, as joy fills the orchard and wedding plans begin, unseen eyes and hidden resentment threaten to destroy what they've built. Stay with us until the end to see how Alex and Tuna face the storm ahead. And don't forget to subscribe and help us reach 10,000 subscribers. Your support truly means the world to us. The grapefruit grove shimmered in a warm golden hue as the sun dipped beyond the horizon. The air smelled faintly of citrus and soil, heavy with the day's labor. Alex stood beside his mother, Miss Huyen and Mr. Min, overlooking stacks of neatly packed fruit. Their soft laughter mingled with the evening breeze. But even as Alex smiled, his gaze often drifted toward the far end of the field, toward Tuna. She was there, in the vegetable garden just beyond the grove, her figure graceful beneath the orange light. The way she tended to her plants, gentle, patient, full of quiet strength, captured something deeper in him than he ever expected. "I think this batch will ship out tomorrow," Mr. Min said, breaking Alex's trance. Alex nodded absently. "Yeah, let's make sure everything's labeled clearly. We don't want another mix-up like last week." Ms. Huyen caught her son's distracted tone. "You're somewhere else today, aren't you?" she teased softly, half smiling. Alex chuckled, but didn't answer. Instead, his eyes lifted again, searching for that familiar silhouette through the trees. Hidden among the shadows, Dewey crouched behind a cluster of thick leaves, his camera lens gleaming faintly as he zoomed in. He pressed the shutter, once, twice, capturing Alex's every glance toward the garden. His heart raced, not from guilt, but excitement. He knew exactly who would want to see these photos. As soon as Alex finished work, he made his way down the narrow dirt path to Tuna's small garden. The sound of trickling water filled the air as she gently poured from her watering can. Her worn shirt clung to her back from the humid evening air, and her soft hum stopped when she noticed Alex approaching. "I missed you," Alex said, voice trembling slightly. Tuna froze for a moment, then smiled, her eyes tender but cautious. "You saw me just this morning," she teased. "I know," he whispered, stepping closer. "But the day felt longer without you." From his hidden spot, Dewey captured the moment. The way Alex brushed a strand of hair from Tuna's cheek, the light grazing their faces, the emotion between them raw and real. He sent the photo immediately. A few seconds later, his phone buzzed with a reply. "That's her," a cold voice said through the speaker. It was Mai. Dewey didn't respond. He lowered his camera, his figure dissolving into the deepening dusk, carrying with him the start of a storm no one else could see coming. Meanwhile, Alex reached for Tuna's hand, his thumb tracing the small scars on her palm, the ones left from endless days of work. "I want to take you to meet my mother," he said softly. Tuna's expression faltered. She looked down at their joined hands, her heart tightening. "Alex, I don't know," she murmured. "She comes from a different world. What if she doesn't like me? She will, he said with certainty. She has to. Inside, baby Henry slept peacefully, his tiny breaths rising and falling under a thin blanket. Tuna glanced toward the window where the lamplight flickered against the wall. Her love for Alex was strong, but fear still lingered. A fear that their happiness might be too fragile to survive the judgment of the world outside their little home. Later that night, Alex returned home. The kitchen was filled with the scent of jasmine rice and warm soup. His mother, Ms. Huyen, sat waiting for him, her elegant posture softened by a tender smile. "You're home late again," she said, pouring him tea. "Work kept me," Alex replied, sitting down. He hesitated for a moment before adding, "But there's something I need to tell you." Huyen raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What is it?" He took a breath, steadying himself. "It's about Tuna." Her hands paused mid-motion. "The woman who helps with the produce?" Alex nodded. "She's more than that, Mom. I love her." For a long moment, the kitchen went silent, except for the gentle ticking of the clock. Huyen's eyes softened, though her heart raced. She remembered Tuna well. Quiet, modest, hardworking, but also a single mother, struggling through life's hardships. "Love her?" Huyen repeated, setting her cup down carefully. "You've known her for how long, Alex?" "Long enough to know she's the one," he said, voice steady, gaze unwavering. Huyen sighed, folding her hands together. "She's different from us. Life hasn't been kind to her. That's why I want to be there for her," he replied. "She doesn't ask for anything, Mom. She just gives. Every day." The conviction in his tone disarmed her. She saw her husband's fire in him, the same stubbornness that refused to bend when it came to matters of the heart. Slowly, she smiled. "If she makes you happy, then I'll support you." Alex's eyes lit up, relief flooding through him. "Thank you, Mom." As he left the room, humming softly under his breath, Huyen turned to the window. The moonlight poured in, pale and cool, wrapping around her like a quiet question. She wanted her son to be happy, yes, but could love alone sustain him against the world's expectations? She cleared the table slowly, the clinking of dishes echoing her thoughts. In her mind, she imagined Tuna, humble, gentle, but with a past that whispered of hardship and secrets. She prayed that Alex's choice wouldn't lead to more pain. Upstairs, Alex sat by the window, the silver glow illuminating his face. "She didn't stop me," he murmured to himself, smiling. In that moment, he felt invincible, believing love had conquered all. But downstairs, Ms. Huyen sat quietly at the table, her thoughts spinning. She thought of the future, of society's judgments, of the gossip that might arise. She thought of how people might see Tuna, not for her kindness, but for her past. And yet, she couldn't bring herself to say no. Perhaps, she thought, this love could be her son's greatest happiness, or his deepest heartbreak. The night grew deeper. Crickets sang beyond the window. The air carried both peace and a strange unease. In her heart, Ms. Huyen made a decision, a bold, unexpected one. If Alex truly loved Tuna, she would face the world with him. Maybe love, after all, deserved a chance to stand proudly in the light. But before she could share this thought, she closed her eyes, whispering softly to the night, "Please, Let her be the one who won't hurt him. Outside, the moon watched silently over the grapefruit grove, casting silver ripples across the leaves. Somewhere beyond the trees, a camera lens glinted briefly before disappearing into darkness, sealing the secret that could one day test every promise they'd made. The night ended not with words, but with quiet determination, one born of love, faith, and the fragile hope that a mother's acceptance might turn two lonely hearts into one united home. Morning sunlight streamed through the curtains, spilling warmth across the wooden floor. The scent of freshly brewed tea filled the house. Ms. Huyen sat by the window, gazing out at the orchard that stretched endlessly beyond the glass. The decision she had made the night before still lingered in her mind, both heavy and liberating. Alex walked in, his expression light, humming a tune as he adjusted his shirt. "Morning, Mom." Huyen looked up, a hint of amusement softening her face. "You look unusually cheerful today. Something good happen?" He grinned. "I was thinking about what you said last night, about supporting me and Tuna. I can't tell you how much that means." Huyen set down her teacup, watching him carefully. "If you truly love her, Alex, then I want to meet her properly. No more secrecy." His smile widened, disbelief flickering in his eyes. "You mean you'll meet her?" "More than that," she replied, voice calm but resolute. "If she's the woman you've chosen, then we'll make it official. I want to organize your wedding." Alex froze. For a heartbeat, he wondered if he'd misheard. "Our wedding?" Huyen nodded. "Yes, if you love her, then bring her into this family properly. I won't have whispers or judgment follow her. Let's give your love the dignity it deserves." Emotion surged through him, raw and overwhelming. "Mom, thank you." She smiled faintly, though her heart still wrestled with quiet uncertainty. "You've always had your father's stubbornness. I suppose I can't fight that." At the vegetable garden, Tuna was bent over, trimming the edges of the rows. The sun kissed her face, beads of sweat tracing soft lines down her cheeks. When Alex appeared, she straightened up, brushing her hands on her apron. "You're early," she said, smiling. "I couldn't wait," he replied, stepping closer. "I told Mom everything." Her eyes widened. "Everything?" He nodded. "That I love you, that you and Henry are my family." Tuna's breath caught. "And what did she say?" "She wants to meet you," Alex said, his grin stretching wide, "and she wants to plan our wedding." For a moment, time stood still. The wind rustled the banana leaves nearby, and Tuna stared at him, uncertain if she'd heard correctly. "Our wedding?" she repeated softly. "Yes," Alex said, his hands finding hers. "She wants to make it official. No hiding, no fear." Her heart raced, a swirl of disbelief and emotion washing through her. "Alex, I don't know what to say," she whispered. "I never imagined." He pressed a finger gently to her lips. "Just say you'll marry me." Tears welled in her eyes. "Of course I will." He pulled her into an embrace, the garden alive with the hum of morning. The moment felt endless, a quiet miracle unfolding under the open sky. From across the road, Dewey stood by his motorbike, camera slung around his neck. He snapped another photo, the click sharp and cold. The image, Their embrace, framed by sunlight, would soon land in the wrong hands. Mai's voice echoed in his mind. Get proof. Enough to destroy them. He lowered the camera, uncertainty flickering for the first time. He had done jobs like this before, capturing scandals, exploiting moments of love and trust. But this felt different. Maybe I've gone too far, he muttered. Still, duty pushed him forward. He sent the photo anyway. Later that afternoon, Ms. Huyen sat in the main hall, reviewing old family albums. Each page told the story of her family's legacy, the land, the business, the traditions she had fought to preserve. But as she flipped through, her eyes softened when she reached a photo of Alex as a child, holding a tiny flower he'd picked for her. He had always loved simply, deeply, and she realized maybe love was enough. Just then, footsteps echoed down the hall. "Mom?" Alex called, leading Tuna gently by the hand. Huyen looked up. Her gaze fell on Tuna. Modest clothes, nervous smile, eyes full of sincerity. The woman bowed slightly, her voice soft. "Hello, Mrs. Huyen. It's an honor to meet you." Huyen studied her for a long moment. Then slowly, she smiled. "Come sit. No need for formalities here." They sat together at the table. Tuna's palms were damp, her heart racing, but Huyen's tone was surprisingly kind. "Alex tells me you've been helping around the orchard for a long time," she began. "Yes," Tuna said, voice steadying. "It's honest work. It helped me raise my son." "Henry," Huyen recalled, her expression thoughtful. "Alex told me about him." Tuna nodded. "He's still young, but he's a good boy. I want him to have a better life." Huyen's eyes softened. Every mother wants that. There was a pause, a delicate silence between two women bound by love for the same man in different ways. Then Huyen smiled faintly. "You know, when Alex told me about you, I was uncertain. But looking at you now, I see what he sees." Tuna blinked, surprised. "You approve?" Huyen nodded. "You have a calm strength about you. And I can tell you love him sincerely. That's enough for me." Relief flooded through Tuna. She bowed her head, tears glimmering. "Thank you, Mrs. Huyen. I'll take care of him, I promise." Huyen reached across the table, placing a hand over hers. "I don't need promises, just honesty and respect for this family." Alex's heart swelled as he watched the two women, the two most important people in his life, share that moment of understanding. Then Huyen stood, her voice clear and decisive. "We'll start preparations immediately. The wedding should be held in the garden, the same place where your father and I were married." Alex laughed in disbelief. "You're serious?" Huyen smiled. "Entirely. If we're going to do this, we'll do it properly." News of the engagement spread quickly across the village. Workers in the orchard whispered excitedly, while a few older women gossiped about how unusual it was for the Huyen family to welcome someone of Tuna's background. Tuna ignored the chatter, focusing on helping with decorations. She and Henry hung paper lanterns along the garden path, their laughter blending with the chirping birds. Alex watched them from afar, his chest tightening with gratitude. For the first time in years, everything felt right. But that peace wouldn't last. Miles away, Mai stared at the photo Dewey had sent. Alex and Tuna, arms wrapped around each other, eyes full of love. Her nails dug into her palm, fury blazing in her chest. So it's true, she hissed. He's marrying her. She threw the phone onto the table, pacing furiously. After everything I've done for him, he chooses her? Her assistant hesitated nearby. What should we do, Miss Mai? She stopped, her eyes cold and sharp as glass. We remind him what happens when he forgets where he comes from. Outside, thunder rumbled faintly over the hills, the first sign of an approaching storm. Back at the orchard, Alex and Tuna stood together beneath the newly hung lights, unaware of what was coming. The air smelled of flowers and earth. He leaned close, whispering, "Tomorrow, we start a new chapter." Tuna smiled, resting her head against his shoulder. "As long as we're together, I'm not afraid."